welcome Dr. Narayan Lakshman, Associate Editor of The Hindu, who's joining us here on the broadcast. Thank you very much once again for speaking to us. This, of course, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, comes in as a big relief as far as EPS is concerned. So, in your view, now the decks are all clear and paves the way for this entire thing to go forward smoothly?
That's looking more likely, Avni, and I think it was certainly something we anticipated would happen, that within the party that there would be greater support for the EPS wing or faction as has been described. But obviously this order from the court does clear the path externally in terms of legal impediments. And so there is pretty much nothing stopping EPS and his colleagues on their side of the AIADMK from passing the resolutions necessary to take firm control of the party, quite likely involving the appointment of office bearers to different positions. And in that process, we could probably expect to see that the OPS faction, Paneerselvam faction, would be undermined within the party. But in the sense, they have already made themselves outsiders to this particular faction. So that should come as no surprise.
There was another issue sometime back with respect to the Twoleaf Symbol also, where, you know, this entire controversy had erupted. Again, who's going to be the owner of that Twoleaf Symbol was the other issue. How do you see that aspect playing out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's important to note that these symbols have very powerful meaning in a state like Tamil Nadu, where the polity, has the legacy of the Dravidian movement. And the Twoleaf symbol obviously was from the times of MG Ramachandran, who was the founder of this party and breakaway from the DMK where he used to be, was a powerful, icon for mobilizing the people. The AIADMK always, with this symbol, stood for the undertrodden parts of the demographic. It stood for women. It stood for, of course, there were leaders who also came from other castes, upper castes. So it was sort of an umbrella, rainbow coalition under the umbrella of the AIADMK. And today, whichever faction, as these two factions fight it out, whichever faction succeeds in having that, and it looks like it will be the EPS side, will pretty much stand to gain everything at the next election. And therefore, I think you're going to see the continuing battle for the symbol. But yeah, to the winners will go the spoils.
Yes, absolutely. And one final question on this aspect before we move to the other issue we're going to speak about. In terms of the kind of leaders that we saw as far as AIADMK was concerned, whether it was Jayalalitha or MGR, do you think EPS has that in him to sort of take the party forward in that manner and what, in fact, considering that he's taking over the legacy?
Yeah, that's another interesting point where I think there has been a break from history. So Jayalalitha ruled with an iron fist, and she was leading the party for many, many decades. And I think she did not really allow the kind of leadership to flourish beneath her during her lifetime and during her leadership that would have led to an orderly succession planning process and leadership that could then handle the party in the aftermath of her demise. So as a result, we saw a tremendous amount of infighting between various factions of the party. Initially, it was OPS who was thrust in the limelight because he was seen as the legitimate sort of heir of Jayalalitha, politically speaking. But of course, he went against Sasikala, who was also very close to Jayalalitha. And then when Sasikala went to jail, Mr. EPS came to the fore with her support. So I think we have seen leaders in the aftermath of Jayalalitha's time who've not had that level of control over the party cadre in terms of balancing the various caste groups and leaders from different regions within Tamil Nadu. But I think increasingly we are seeing the third phase in the shift within the party structure, which is that EPS is emerging as a leader who is demonstrating his credentials based on how he is governed. Let's not forget that he had a successful tenure as chief minister. He delivered policies that were good for the state, for the benefit of the people. And now, based on that success and his record as an able administrator, he will stake a claim and to be the sole leader of the party and take the party forward into the future and into future elections.
All right. Then thanks you so much for your perspective on that. But let's now turn our attention to the other focus. That is BJP sounds of southern sirens. Tamil Nadu BJP chief K. Annamalai has set political corridors abuzz by saying that Maharashtra political scenario will play out also in Tamil Nadu. Now, he has backed his party's newly stitched alliance in Maharashtra and said that even in Tamil Nadu, BJP will get 25 MPs in the Lok Sabha polls, which is equal to 150 MLAs in the assembly polls in the state. This comes just days after Uddhav Thackeray government was toppled by rebellion by the Eknath Shinde-led faction. However, DMK leader has reacted, saying that the ruling party in Tamil Nadu is united and strong. Shri Prapanch is joining us for more on this. Shri Prapanch, if you can take us through these comments by the BJP and more importantly, the kind of reactions coming in on it from the government.
Now, this was during a protest, in fact, a token hunger strike. A BJP state president Annamalai had made these comments. Annamalai had drawn a parallel between the Bal Thackeray family and Karunanidhi family, where he was explaining how Bal Thackeray and his three sons fared and how Karunanidhi and his three sons fared, and including he also said that Uddhav Thackeray's son Aditya Thackeray, when he was inducted in cabinet, and Eknath Shinde emerged, and similar situation may emerge where, if at all the cabinet reshuffle takes place in Tamil Nadu and Stalin's son is inducted into the cabinet, once again Eknath Shinde will emerge here. So these were the kind of comments he was drawing parallel between the Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, and he said that a similar situation may happen in Tamil Nadu as well. Now, we also spoke to DMK, which is the ruling government over here, and Mr. D.K. Sulongo, one a senior leader from the DMK, said that in fact the party is united, there is no issue, it is strong, and however he said that Annamalai is political novice. These were the kind of comments he brushed aside Annamalai's comments reacting to the same. But however, we can see that this particular hunger strike was against the DMK for not fulfilling the poll promises, allegedly not fulfilling the poll promises which were promised during the elections. Nearly 505 poll promises were promised by the DMK, and against that, for not fulfilling the poll promises and for not closing the several Tasmak shops, that BJP had held a token hunger strike yesterday. During that meet, BJP state president Annamalai in fact drew a parallel and said that a similar situation of what had happened in Maharashtra would happen in Tamil Nadu, and Eknath Shinde would emerge.
All right. Thank you, Shri Prapanch, for getting us all of those details. But let's get in some more views on this. I'm also being joined by Mohan Krishna of the BJP here on the broadcast as well. Mohan Krishna, if I can come to you first, if you can sort of elaborate a little bit on in what context were these comments made and on what basis?
Basically, Avni,
yes,
the statement made by Mr. Annamalai, the BJP president of Tamil Nadu, is in the context that, BJP, after the national executive in Hyderabad, what the dynasty politics, what we are talking today in India, which is very rampant in Tamil Nadu today, you can see not just one post, almost all the plump posts in the government as well as in the party has been there with the DMK family, that is Karunanidhi family. You have Stalin, you have Valagiri, you have Uday Stalin, and what not. So their family, whole family is there in the, total power as well as in the party cadres also. Look, what we are talking today is what Mr. Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi was also talking. We have to end this dynasty politics. What is dynasty politics according to the BJP? What we have to understand that, it goes from one, in the same family, it rotates, like, how you have from Indira Gandhi, Nehru to Indira Gandhi to Sonia Gandhi to Rahul Gandhi. The parties with them only. You cannot find anybody there now. But whereas you have a difference today. What kind of a situation we have in BJP is very, very visible to the people of the country. In democracy, the president will be chosen from the cadre. We don't know who is going to be next president. We don't know exactly. But when he becomes the president, look at the kind of the respect and everything he gets. One thing. It is not in the same family. You cannot see that, Nitin Gadkari's son becoming president or Kushbal Thakuray's son becoming president of BJP again. not those kind. That's one part of it. The second part coming to South Bugle. Yes, we have foothold today in Tamil Nadu also. We have 4 to 5 representatives, people representatives today. And we are strong with AIDMK. Our alliance is very strong with AIDMK. There might be a lot of issues within the party of the AIDMK, but they will sort it out. We are not going to interfere in between the party affairs of the AIDMK. Coming to the point, again, what Mr. Annamalai was stressing on. Look, what happened in Maharashtra might happen in Tamil Nadu also. It is a big thing. The influence might happen. That is what he is saying, that's all.
Okay. All right. Let me bring in Dr. Narayan as well here to respond. Dr. Narayan, obviously, drawing a parallel between Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, is possibly slightly far-fetched. But the larger issue here that is being spoken about by the BJP, what is your response?
My response is that this is just a diversionary tactic by the BJP, where they're talking about things like dynastic politics. The point about dynastic politics is nepotism. That is, you have leaders who operate for special interests based on who has nominated them or put them into power. Now, whether that happens because of a family connection or whether that happens because of a business connection, which the BJP is not at all a stranger to, makes no difference, because at the end of the day, the public's exchequer suffers and the people suffer and policies are inadequate. So I don't think the BJP has any business trying to portray itself as holier than thou in this regard. The second point about the South, as your speaker here said, it's all about the foothold. They have got a foothold in the southern states. Whether the southern states or West Bengal, there are certain states which are resistant to saffron politics, where the people are fundamentally not interested in it. The issues of communalism and ugly, inter-community riots do not happen with the kind of frequency they happen in the northern and central states. But the BJP, of course, politically needs control of every single state. That's its plan, and is trying to find its way into the south. So this allegation is actually a threat, the way I see it, because what happened, obviously, in Maharashtra was that the BJP or any party, let us say, there is a change. If there is a major faction breaking away and is completely going towards the opposition side, and then they form a totally different government, sidelining another part of that original party, as happened with the Shiv Sena, you're going to see, erosion of trust in the party system as such. Now, the question is whether Mr. Annamalai has made a loose comment without understanding the dynamics of Dravidian parties and the fact that there is an ideology that holds them together, which makes them resistant to such attempts. Or is Mr. Annamalai actually acting on credible information, where it is not so much the DMK? I believe, actually, ironically, his comments apply more to the AIADMK, where OPS has been known to be very close to the Prime Minister and to the BJP as such, where they may actually try their luck with either breaking up the party or getting a majority of legislators to support them in the next round. Frankly, it is on the ground here in Tamil Nadu, it is quite well sort of accepted that that is in fact the most likely scenario to happen in the next election. So I think these comments are slightly misdirected, but they do reveal a lot to us about the thinking, the strategic political thinking behind the BJP.
Absolutely. Mohan Krishna and Dr. Narayan Lakshman, thank you so much for joining us and bringing in your perspective.